What is your favorite video game? This is a question we all get at some point, and we never know how to answer it properly. There are so many different video games that we all enjoy so much, it is hard to quantify and compare what game we enjoy the most out of them all. In this video, I want to tackle this question in a bit of a fun way, by addressing my favorite video game for each letter of the alphabet. I do want to be flexible enough to fit as many games as I enjoy as possible, meaning removing prefixes and articles such as T from the titles, but aside from few exceptions, I will stick to one game per letter, from A to Z. Of course, I will be listing only games that I've played, but to make the list as complete as possible, I will write on screen some honorable mentions that did not make the cut. But enough with the premise, roll the intro. Kicking off this list, for the letter A, there is my beloved Advance Wars, a strategy game originally released for the GBA, but then remade for the Switch. There are very few games I keep on playing throughout the years, yet from high school all the way to today, I keep on starting endless matches on this enhanced chessboard. Its addictive gameplay is enchanting, and there is a certain charm to the aesthetics that no other strategy game can match. The single player campaign is solid, but the strong point is of course the versus mode. I will keep on playing this title for the years to come. For B, we have Bioshock Infinite, a title I struggled to start when I first bought it, yet that amazed me the second time around. The unique world building, the memorable characters, the revolutionary gameplay all come together splendidly in this artistic masterpiece. There is no singular element in the game that alone I would define as perfect, but the togetherness of it all is what I truly admire in Irrational Games' magnus opus. It just works from start to finish. Next, there is C for Civilization, another strategy game that kept me hooked for afternoons and even nights like no other. I played C4, 5 and 6 hours upon hours, and though I more recently played 6, I do have a sweet spot for the 5th entry, I believe the first game I've ever bought at launch. I feel Civilization 5 is both very accessible and very challenging, allowing many different but always unforgettable runs. The graphical direction of the game also feels very solid, a realism that makes you feel like a true general, a true leader, across all eras of mankind. D is the first letter on the list that has a game that, yes, I enjoyed quite a lot, but that feels a bit like a forced pick. Still, Dying Light is by no means a bad game, quite the opposite. I had quite a lot of fun running around rooftops and kicking zombies like no tomorrow. A fine combination of Mirror's Edge platforming, Left 4 Dead's undead fighting spree within a vast open world. Speaking of worlds, Euro Truck Simulator 2 represents the letter E as the sole sim game on the list. There are games I play for the action, games I play for the adrenaline, but on rare occasions, there are games I play for relaxation, for leisure, something that this Czech game does sublimely. There is something that simply works in this simulator game, a gameplay that is yes repetitive by nature, but always engaging. The locations to visit are many, especially with the always releasing new DLCs that ever so more expand the map and the player's horizons. At first, I thought my pick for the letter F would have been the well-known Obsidian RPG, but upon reflecting more about it, I think Far Cry takes the cake here, especially Far Cry 4. What can I say, I found the title to be engaging, both in single player as well as in co-op. The gameplay formula is the same as Far Cry 3, but more refined, with more tools, vehicles and a more inspired setting that is Kyrat. This is, I believe, the sole Ubisoft game I've ever 100%ed, truly an outstanding experience. Grim Fandango follows suit for the letter G, a game that has a charm like no other. The noir narrative combined with its unique aesthetic, a mix between Art Deco and Mexican culture, is truly something out of this world. At first, I had my frustrations with the gameplay. I was not used to 90s click puzzle games, but by the end, I started to enjoy the formula, and with Manny Calavera's charisma, I was happy to complete this amazing adventure. We are keeping PC classics for H for Half-Life 2, a pioneer to modern first-person shooters, as well as a revolutionary game engine. We always talk about next-gen for a graphical point of view, but the introduction of physics in the digital world is in my opinion a greater leap forward than 4K. And don't you believe that I enjoy Half-Life only for the gameplay? The story is quite engaging. There is a reason why people are long awaiting the third entry. Speaking of games that keep an incredible pace from start to finish, It Takes Two is my #1 pick for the letter I. It was a blast playing this title with my good, outstanding friend Dandos, and I would enjoy making a second run playing with the other main character. The platforming is calibrated near to perfection, the level design is very inspired, and the plot of the title kept me both entertained as well as engaged. It looks silly, but it is actually quite a profound play. A game that definitely did not have a memorable plot is Just Cause 3, but the J title is not here for that reason. While most people have GTA 5 as their sandbox of reference, mine is Just Cause 3, a title that tunes best to my ear. Perhaps it is the dynamic gameplay, with a character much more flexible in its movements, perhaps the size of the playground, a whopping 1,000 square kilometers, or perhaps the beauty of the world, inspired by my beloved country. Whatever it is, the game clicked with me, and to this day I still fly, drive and swing across the Medici Islands. I don't think there's a more iconic character that starts with the letter K than Kirby. Thus, my pick has to be Kirby in the Forgotten Land for Nintendo Switch. I played some Kirby titles here and there in the past, but this one is the sole one that truly captured my attention. The level design, both in its presentation as well as the themes chosen, is outstanding. The game is cozy for sure, but the care for detail is impeccable. It never feels like a second tier to a Mario game, that is for sure. L is for Like a Dragon Ishin, a game that I believe to be quite underrated in the Yakuza franchise. True, I believe the remake could have avoided introducing some wacky elements, but when looking past that, there is still a solid RPG game. The late Bakufu era of the 1860s makes for a great setting, both in the conflicts that arise in the plot as well as the sword and gun gameplay, quite a unique spin to the traditional samurai swordsmen we often imagine. I knew a Mario Kart game would have made by Epic, but which one? I love various games of the series for different reasons, but Mario Kart 8 is my go-to title, and even from the day of its release back in the Wii U, I still deemed it to be the most refined game of the franchise, let alone the deluxe version that came after. The track selection is among the strongest in the franchise, the game mechanics are balanced between a casual and a more competitive setup, and the graphical fidelity has not aged a day since day one. I do wonder if this position will become soon outdated with the upcoming Mario Kart World. Up next is Nier Automata for the letter N, a Platinum game that is challenging to even describe. A mix between a hack and slash, a JRPG, and a post-apocalyptic futuristic setting sounds like a chaotic premise, and yet somehow ended up becoming one of my favorite games of all times. There is something so peculiar yet so unique of the title that keeps the player always intrigued and on the verge of their seats while immersing themselves in this 30 hours plus adventure. Again, hard to describe, but believe me, this title is Gold 24. It has been ages since I last played Orc Must Die, perhaps being the game I've played the furthest away from the making of this list, but man if I do have good memories with the first entry. The tower defense mechanics, mixed with a third-person shooter in a medieval fantasy world, was at the time a never-seen-before combo to me, and I just couldn't stop playing. Probably I should give the third entry a chance. Despite making something like 4 Pokemon-themed videos on the channel, for the letter P I cannot put another game than Portal 2, probably in my top 5 favorite video games of all times. Valve strikes again with a revolutionary ways to play games that will forever be beloved and probably not with a third entry. Jokes aside, I do have great respect for Portal 2, a puzzle game like no other. The sequel specifically also expands on the narrative, as well as introducing a co-op campaign and custom-made levels, elevating the IP from great to outstanding. For some letters, I struggle to choose what game to place, but for letter Q, well, let's just say that there is quite literally only one game to choose from. Literally 2 weeks ago, I played Quake 2 in split screen with my good fantastic friend Tito. All shooters are usually not my cup of tea, but I did enjoy playing Quake 2, and hey, the Q lettering makes this spot quite convenient. Rocket League follows suit, the sole purely multiplayer game up here. Don't get me wrong, I'm no pro gamer, far from it, but I did enjoy countless matches, and from time to time I'm jumping to play some more. Who would have thought that combining football, or as we call it in Italy calcio, with driving could have worked so perfectly? The arcade esport game is just fun to play, for beginners to experts alike. A Super Mario game for S can't miss. Sorry Sonic, and the honor is taken by 2017's Super Mario Odyssey. The evolution, no, revolution this title was for the formula cannot be downplayed. Not only it is a jump for the Mario games, but for the all 3D platformers that came after. All kingdoms in the game are filled with secrets to uncover and challenges to beat, one harder than the next. Also, I appreciated the aesthetics. Rather than to follow the classic Mario look, the direction was more creative, like there is more fantasy when drawing these foreign lands, exploring this, well, Odyssey. I did claim I would be flexible with articles in titles, hence I only placed one game for T with T in front, and that title is my beloved The Stanley Parable. Indie games might not have the budget for fancy graphics or big worlds, but where they lack in resources, they make up for in creativity. The Stanley Parable is a masterclass in its narrative, a beautiful absurdity as it is titled in my first review of the game. The apparent simplicity mixed with the complex branching paths, tied together with the most charismatic narrator of them all, gives you the best parable ever told in the digital world. The last vowel in the alphabet is U for Uncharted 2 Amongst Thieves. Though I must admit I'm not the greatest fan of Nathan Drake, I still had a good time playing the second entry of the series back in the PS3. The action is packed, the sceneries are neat, and the cinematics of the game are impressive even to this day. It is not a masterpiece by any means, but it does check my boxes, being a fast-pacing, action-playable movie. Sega's Valkyria Chronicles 4, on the other hand, takes the V spot without further questions asked, edging slightly its predecessor, the first title. Don't be too enchanted by the flowered fields and the colorful prairies. This is an intense war game, both challenging as well as captivating. Valkyria Chronicles 4 care for detail is meticulous, from the maps with different routes to side content to enhance all soldiers' backstories. The main storyline is touching and real, despite the fantasy elements. My old review of the game was brief, but hopefully it still conveys how much I love this entry. Funny story with W's entry, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I didn't really like it at first. I'm not sure why, but the title just didn't click with me in the first 15 hours or so much so that I stopped playing it for a while, but after picking it up again, I could not stop playing it. The people within the world have a realism seen in no other game. Some subquests are richer in detail than standalone titles, and the bestiary, every monster that is hunted is unique in its pattern and even preparation, making the player feel like a true, well, Witcher. From a Western role-playing game to a Japanese one, Xenoblade 2 takes the X, being one of my favorite JRPGs out there. Monolith Software taught developers how to utilize the Switch in its peak, considering this game launched fairly close to the console itself. The plot is well written, and the gameplay is a bit repetitive but still enjoyable. The exploration is what excels, with these vast landmasses filled with treasures and quests to find. The reason why I went with the second entry is easy, it's the only one I played. I should probably catch up with the first and third entry. Just as mentioned earlier with Like a Dragon, I'm a huge Yakuza fan, and as they say, the first love is the hardest to forget. Y is for Yakuza 0, and what a game to kick off the long series that I'm still slowly completing. Yakuza 0 has a strong storytelling, a story hard to forget, full of unforgettable characters and plot twists one more grandiose than the other. The gameplay is nothing to laugh about either, with a polished beat-em up that never gets old even after 10 plus titles. The 80s never looked so beautiful and alive in RGG Studios' magnus opus. Last but not least in the alphabet we have the letter Z, and to no one's surprise, Zelda Breath of the Wild takes the crown. While last to the alphabet, the game is perhaps first on the tier list, being a game that truly transformed my gaming experience forever. Breath of the Wild was the long-awaited revolution to the open world formula, one where the player is truly the center of the world. This version of Hyrule rhymes with freedom, and the content inside is both quality and quantity, no small feat to achieve. I adore this Zelda, being one of the few games of such scale that I played more than once. And while riding one last time to the sunset, we have concluded the long alphabet, filled with 26 letters and 26 wonderful games I would suggest you all to play. So there you have them, my favorite games from A to Z, at least by the time I made this video in the spring of 2025. I usually don't explicitly say the date of my videos, but I'm sure that in the coming years some positions will be changed based on the titles I will play, both new and retro. Even when making this video I had some close calls, upon reflecting some positions could have gone either way, but nevertheless, all games listed do represent more or less my gaming journey so far, and if you dare, I invite you to do the same in the comments. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you one too many favorite games times for watching today's video. This video was a bit more personal than usual, but it was a fun idea I wanted to do for ages, so what better occasion to do it just before the release of the Switch 2. I hope you enjoyed this video and I wish you all a wonderful day. Until next time, arrivederci!